Hey guys, welcome back. BJ the Brave here, and I am back with an update on the Tau Diaries series. So, hopefully you've watched part 1. If you haven't, go back and check that out on my channel. But this is now, what, 5-6 days later since the last one, since the Tau first came out. So I wanted to give you a bit of an update on the progress report. So basically, as you can see, the campaign is now really filling up. What I did was I've actually just started to come back and refill the early nodes, but what I actually did was I went pretty full on streamlined really to across the top here. I went all the way up across the top here, and then I took the Piranha over the Devilfish because I think I already had the 2 Devilfish. And then I went sort of down here, got the packs, and then I took the Dynamic Offensive because I really wanted to build the Battlesuit decks, which we'll come on to in a minute. And then I basically went across, took the Savior Protocols, which is busted, and essentially made my way down here, and then across for the Legendaries. Now, in addition to that, I should say that my random Legendary, this gives you 1 random legendary. It was actually the Ethereal, the Honoured Ethereal, which was actually the first legendary I think I got. So it was a duplicate. But the good news is I had a birthday recently, and I managed to. Someone asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And I actually managed to snag one of the bundles. So I actually got the 50. There was a bundle that was I think it was called 30. I think it was 35 plus 5 cards. So no cosmetics, just pure value on the cards. So it was basically 40 packs for $50, something like that. So I ended up getting that as well, and as a result, I've actually managed to end up with all of the now I've got all of the legendary cards. So what that means is you can expect, obviously, the shackles are off. I can start now building pretty much any deck with the Tau faction, which is really cool. So you can expect a shed load of different deck guides come in. Going to be testing and trying loads and loads of stuff. Yeah, the first ones that I got was the Emergency Dispensation and the Honoured Ethereal, and I have to say the Honoured Ethereal has been very good in the Crisis Suit builds. I also then got Longstrike and started playing with him as well. So yeah, so the legendaries are pretty full. Let's take a look at the epics. So again, with the epic cards, we've pretty much got all of them now. This guy we've only got 1 copy of, so we still need a second copy when I come to doing my Kauyon Patient Hunter build. I think drone builds. I think I'll pick up a second copy of that. We've got 7 wild cards, so it's not going to be difficult to do that. Or the alternative is we just use all the wild cards on Anvar. That is super interesting. Shall we just do that? Wait, so if we do Anvar, if we craft that, just see how this works. I just kind of like that. A red one. So to now make him, we'd now need 4 cards to make him level 3. I think I'm just going to chill on the red one. I quite like that. So yeah, in terms of the epics, basically we've pretty much got everything there. So in terms of building decks now, you can see that we're really not limited at all. We can obviously pick up the second fire sight marksman. I think actually there might even be. I wonder if there's somewhere on the campaign where that guy is. Yeah, he's up here. Okay, so we could basically just go up across the top here. That kind of makes sense. So maybe if I get this one next, up there, and then I'll pick that up. So then we'll have all of the epics, and then I think it's pretty safe bet to say that we've got all of the greens of the rares now. I don't think there's anything that we haven't got on that. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, so we've got everything there. So yeah, so in terms of collection now, boys, we are good to go. I've also got quite a few of these like level 3 cards, so you'll see the orange border, which is kind of interesting. It was interesting because I wanted to keep the red on some cards because I think the red looks better. But yeah, collection is looking very good. So last time we looked at the practice decks, we played Target Lock and we played Patient Hunter. Two of the ones that I kind of want to look at here is the Huntress and the Hero's Mantle, because basically both of these are all about kind of building your sort of battlesuit builds, if you like. So like if we take a look at the Huntress, for example, with Shadowsun, I use this as a bit of a baseline to build my first competitive deck. So with Shadowsun, you know, it's got the let's heal all the crisis suits up, and it runs a Zephyr Grace. This is pretty good actually, because obviously, unlike Onvar, who has this part of his hero power, Shadowsun doesn't have access to this every time. So playing one of these actually for 1 energy is actually really pretty good. There's a strong argument to run 2 of them. Often with the when you play the Crisis Suit deck, you can often end up with hands where you have a lot of cards in hand but a lot of bodies, so you can't make use of all of them at once. So having some like really cheap invocations like this is not a bad idea. It's got a single Pulse Onslaught, another one of the invocations there, the Sense of Stone, which is also very good. So then it's got 1 Stealth Drone, double Crisis Suit, the Dynamic Offensive just 1. You absolutely want 2 of these if you're going to run the Battlesuit deck. It's got the Emergency Dispensation, so I'm going to show you how I refine this in a minute. Inspired to Greatness, terrible card. Sniper Drones, okay, good cards, but they don't really synergize with the Crisis Suits. Vespid is very good, only got 1 of them now. Double Bodyguard, their suits. Fire Warrior Marksman, again, not real synergy there. Fortified Positions is alright. Ethereal, so you see where I got the idea there. The Shadowsun, again, they're infantry. The Broadside Battlesuits, Valued Sacrifice, Double Hammerhead, Skyray, Longstrike, and Sunshine Bomber. So what we've done is we've basically refined that, and we've made a kind of updated version of it. And if you haven't seen it, I did do a full deck guide on this deck, so go and check out my Battlesuits Assemble guide if you want to see that. But I have updated it a little bit since then, and I'm kind of landing on this at the minute. I still think that this version, there's still a little bit of refining of 1 or 2 cards, I think, but I will show you what I've got in a minute. So I've gone for double Kauyon Tactics, which is just absolutely excellent, with the Relentless Fusillade for AoE, but also just really good sometimes because you just want to, opponent's got a decent board and it just helps you remove them. It synergizes really well with things like the Vespid, who have obviously got flank, and things like your Dynamic Offensive, so when you pull flankers, and then they can obviously take advantage of the Markalite. What you will notice though is we don't really take massive advantage of the Markalite in the Crisis Suit versions. We do a little bit, and especially the Shadowsun. The Shadowsun version does more than the Honoured Ethereal version, which is kind of like another version that I'm working on. But Shadowsun, obviously, because of his ability, he can use 1 Markalite per turn. So we don't go like crazy on putting loads of Markalites in the deck. We just rely mainly on Shadowsun to light something up when we need it. And that's why in his build we do run 2 coordinated engagements, because obviously with Shadowsun having that ability, these become quite easy to pull off. Yeah, so we've got 1 Stealth Drone in this version. We've got the double Crisis Suits. You'll notice that we don't have a lot of things that aren't suits now. So the double Dynamic Offensive, best card in the deck. It's so important. Emergency Dispensation, very, very good. Vespid Stingwings, again coming on, making use of Markalite where we need them, and the Crisis Bodyguard. I mean, these guys, again, what you want to be thinking of is how good is a card that benefits from dynamic offensive. So the Crisis Bodysuit's brilliant because basically if this gets flanked, it's coming on with shield and 5 range attacks. That's a 5 range attack shielded flanker for 4 energy. That's insanely good. The Honoured Ethereal, I think I said before that this guy's just a really great 4-drop, and also helps you out with defense here. Dropping this guy next to big units, for example. Even just dropping him next to, sometimes I'll drop him next to like a Vespid, just as a bit of a speed bump. But yeah, Ethereal's very good in this deck. It's so good that like I want to keep it in, even though it's not a Battlesuit. And you've got to be really adding something to the deck for that to be the case if you're doing this pure Battlesuit version. Remember, this isn't a companion build. This isn't trying to take advantage of drones, really. This is really a pure Battlesuit sort of tempo, like mid-range deck. We've already talked about the Fusillade, so we do run the Stealth Suits. Now, Stealth Suits are just, again, another way of accessing flank, and playing this on turn 4, and then like the Stealth Suit coming on for on turn 5, still having 1 energy to kind of light something up with a Markalite, for example. Is just really, really good. Or even using Technological Supremacy to kind of trade, and then obviously heal your suits back up. That's a really solid turn 4 and 5. And then again, when it comes to what are we looking for from the dynamic offensives, well, we run things that have Longstrike. So again, this guy coming on is a 6 attack with long range, so it's not actually going to get hit back. We also run the Riptides, which again have long range, 8. So you look at between those and the Broadsides and the Crisis Bodyguards, and the flanking capability in this deck is absolutely insanely good. In addition, I've now got Longstrike, so I've added them to the deck as well, so that's another insane flanker. And then the only one who doesn't have really long range, but I still think is worth it, is the Enforcer Battlesuit. I really like this card because one of the things that's interesting to note is that his drones actually cost only 1, whereas everyone else's cost 2. So you can kind of actually play this guy's companions out much easier than the others. And he does buff to 3, so he's a bit like the Orc banner knob, right? You know the banner knob that just gives +1 to the things at the side of him? This guy gives +1 range attack to your Lord, for example, who with a Markalite can then have essentially 4 attack from range, which is really good. And then you can put the drone next to him, and that has 2 as well. So yeah, so that is the deck. And honestly, this deck is starting to feel pretty refined. I'm still testing the kind of like, you know, like the sort of Zephyr's Grace, and the I'm also not entirely sure about the double coordinated engagement, only because sometimes I'm finding I'm not really needing it, and people can play the offense card against me, which means that this then becomes pretty useless because I can't target anything if things are in camouflage. But other than that, like, the deck's pretty refined at this stage. So yeah, so that's how we went from that to that. Now I do want to work on an aggro drone deck, and I want to work on like a sort of more slow patient hunter type of build. But just to come back to the practice mode, we've just talked about the Shadowsun version. We've also got the Hero's Mantle, which says embody the teaching of the Monkar with a swift strike of your battlesuits, leveraging their superior maneuverability and firepower. So this is kind of similar to what we've just looked at, but what this is doing is it's got slightly more kind of like drone element to it. But again, you can see the broadsides, the stealth suits. It does have the Cold Star in it, and a Riptide, so it's kind of like got a very similar, idea to what the Storm not Storm, Shadowsun version had. And the main difference is that, so Onvar has a slightly higher power ceiling, I think, because Onvar's abilities, like being able to give shield to things, or being able to give tremendous amount of range by giving the kind of +2 +2 range attack to everything on the board, for example. So the power spike is actually higher with Onvar. Slightly less safe and consistent though than Shadowsun. So Shadowsun's much better in the early game. Shadowsun does very well against 3 health units, obviously, whereas this one struggles a bit more with the higher health. So Shadowsun can obviously marker-like things for free or give +1 range attack. So Shadowsun's just a little bit better at removing and a little bit more consistent in the early game. And has access to marker-lights all the time, whereas Onvar really struggles with that. It doesn't have access to marker-light. So when you see my Onvar version, I don't run things like Coordinated Assault. I just basically don't have any marker-light with that deck, and it's much more about getting like maximizing the flanking Battlesuits and what have you. So yeah, so that's how kind of I've evolved those 2 decks to forge like a Battlesuit deck. I'm really keen to do a Storm of Fire-esque deck, which is much more based around infantry, and I'm really keen to do an aggro deck, and then a slightly slower like drone build that makes use of like the shielded drones and all of that sort of stuff. So still plenty to do, but yeah, in terms of the collection really coming on, I'm starting to really understand a lot of the synergies and the cards. So some of the things that are kind of like standouts so far for me, and some of the things that perhaps underwhelmed, are the stealth drone for one is very good. It's very good, because you know you can drop this down and it's in stealth, and the next turn you can drop your next unit down, and it says at the end of the turn put the adjacent unit. So that wording makes a lot more sense to me now, and it feels really nice, that kind of combination, so you don't have to play them in the same turn. And it's very good. It's very good, right? Like obviously stealth in a Riptide is just ridiculous, or sometimes like stealth in your Broadside Battlesuit, so you get to use your long range, or coming on with a Vespid and killing something and then putting it into stealth and stuff. So that's been really good. I've also been quite impressed with Onvar once I got my head around Onvar. I do think that if the game gets faster, then Onvar might have a bit of a problem, but where the meta's a little bit slow right now, Onvar's pretty good. Like having that flexibility. I look at his hero power as either it's just 1 energy and you heal to him and 2 units, or it's a 3 to 5 energy, right? So 3 gets him a shield, 5 gives armor to all troops on board, which is very powerful if you get a wide board. And then the 5 energy gets the heal, and it gives the +2, so it basically gives him a finisher. He's got a finisher built into his ability. You'll only use it once in a game probably, but when you use it, it'll probably win the game. So Onvar's been a little bit better than I thought. Riptide's been a lot better than I thought, and long range in general has been a bit better than I thought, but that is a lot to do with me making use of dynamic offensive. What I might be tempted to do is, in decks that aren't pure crisis suits, I think that's where the 4-cost spell is really quite good. So the, what's it called, this one, because what this is essentially, it's a weird kind of flank. It's not flank, but it's kind of like build a board, then use this, and obviously cheat the trades. So it is very powerful. It's just going to be a matter of finding the right build for it. Sure.
And then the other card that's really surprised me is the Fire Warrior Marksman. I have this down as an unplayable card, and it's a really good card, so super good. I think the other thing, if you go and look at my sort of card review that I did, I think if you look at like the drone, so for example I gave Gun Drone a 5 out of 5. What I've realised is if I'm marking this, it's a weird card to score, right? Because are you talking about how good is it when you can get 2 of them out of as a companion out of a card, for example? Or are we talking about how good is this as a 2 energy card that you put into your deck? And as a 2 energy card that you put into your deck, this is definitely not a 5 out of 5. I definitely overestimated that. I would say it's more like a 3 out of 5. Like, maybe even it's bad, but it's more like situational. But that doesn't mean that the Gun Drone is bad. It just means that the 2-drop Gun Drone card, putting that into your decks, isn't as good as it's definitely not a 5 out of 5. So that's kind of something that I've realised. Like, but obviously getting them as companions and for free and things like that, that's where they can be super powerful for sure. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, guys, with the Tau. I've not really been playing much draft now that I've got my collection on. So really focusing on my Battlesuits decks, and I'm about to start moving on to some other types of builds. So that's where I'm at. Keep a lookout. Subscribe if you haven't to the channel, and keep a lookout for the deck guides. There'll be a lot of deck guides coming up, and yeah, I will probably do a 3rd and final one to the series probably a good few weeks in now, once we've really started to see where Tower landing in the meta. One thing I will say to finish is that I've seen a lot of comments about the release, and I've seen everything from Tower completely broken, they need nerfing, to people actually playing in the top 50 saying I've lost the Tower yet, you know. So I think that compared to other factions, they have a greater majority of cards that are useful and good cards and playable. So that's true. Whether the top decks from each faction can't compete with Tau, that's a different question entirely. And Tau have still got a lot to prove on that front. As I say, I've only really played with a few archetypes in any sort of ladder capacity or in any depth at the minute. So I've still got a lot to learn. I do suspect that there is something involving drones that will end up being needing some tweaking. I've heard people talk about Longstrike, but like Longstrike's very good, but you know, there could be something where half his ability doesn't even get used, like if there's just one unit on the board, for example. So, and he costs 8 energy, so he should be like a game changer, a finisher, and often you don't get to use him. But the drones, on the other hand, being 0 energy and coming out with shield, that could be a problem. That could be a real problem. Now, I don't know for sure yet. We'll have to see. If Tau take over ladder with that side of the deck, then great. That's when we'll know for sure it needs nerfing. But I suspect it might just be a little bit. There might be a bit of something. I'm not sure what, but there might be something that's a problem in that combination. But again, very early. We'll see. We'll have to see how that plays out. So yeah. So thanks for following along, guys. I hope that's helpful, and I hope your collection of Tau is coming on too. One massive tip I would say for playing against Tau is to just jump in and do the campaign, do the basic campaign, and just collect some cards and learn how the mechanics work, because that's going to help you play against them. And just get yourself on the Forge on Tau up to level 4. Once you've got rank level 4 on the Forge, you can unlock Solar Eclipse, which means then you can go back to your Orc deck or your Tyranny deck or whatever, and when you play against Tau, you can choose Solar Eclipse, which will basically protect all your troops, putting them in camouflage, and really hurt Tau, because they can't marker light you up, for example. So that is a huge tip. I'm hoping this gets nerfed, by the way. I think this is... I don't like this from a design point. I think this is really bad to nerf a kind of army mechanic, a faction mechanic. I don't think that's good design. So I'm hoping this gets changed. But as it currently stands, that would be a great tip for playing against the Tau. I am going to do a video, by the way, of each faction and some key kind of strategies and tips to play against Tau, because I realise like not everyone's collecting Tau, and there are other factions in the game still, so I'm definitely going to be doing that. Look out for that. Other than that, let me know in the comments if there's anything that you'd like to see, or if you've got any thoughts, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and take it easy. I'll see you in the next one.